Hello! Today I am doing something a little bit different because I am live and in person with Liz Kohler Brown.
Yay.
Liz Kohler Brown happens to live near me in Raleigh, North Carolina, and when I found this out, I got on my email, and I was already email stalking you, actually, but I specifically was like, oh my God, you're in Cary, and she probably was like, oh no, maybe I need to move away. But anyways, I was here talking with Liz, and Liz is a very talented surface designer. She's very successful in print on demand. She has a million bajillion classes. She specializes in affinity. And today I was talking with her studio members. And so since we were here, we thought, hey, why not film something for YouTube as well? So thank you for joining.
Absolutely. Happy to chat. I was excited when you emailed me. I had just had a baby, so if I was rude, I was just...
No, you weren't rude at all, but I felt...
I was in mom mode.
I come in very hot when I don't email people often, but I do come in quite hot when I do it.
I was excited because I love licensing, but it's a bit of a missing piece in my wheelhouse. I do a lot of print on demand. I sell my own work on Etsy. Licensing, I'm still learning and experimenting. So I think we're perfectly matched.
I love that. I love that. Well, so today, instead of doing a full interview, which hopefully some point I do a full interview with Liz, but today I thought we would do something fun since we're here in person, and that is hot topics. So in the past, I have done this like at the end of a few interviews, and then I kind of tapered off from doing it. So I'm bringing it back, and I'm bringing it back hot. These are some topics that I have heard from people that they're getting mixed messaging on. And this is topics related to, you know, just getting our work out there and pitching and creating art. And people are, you know, they go to you, they go to me, they go to various other teachers, and they're hearing different messages about what's the right way to do it. And knowing these topics and looking through them, the truth is, there's no right way. There really isn't. We all are gonna carve our own path. There's no right way. But, you know, we have our preferences. We have our things that we think work for whatever reasons. And so I thought it would be good to go through a few of these topics, and we can kind of go back and forth and talk about what we think, you know, how we would do it, or what we recommend to our students or whatever on these various topics.
I love that.
All right, so let's get started. The first one, let's talk signature style. You know, people come to me and they say, do I need a signature style? I'm stressed out. I haven't developed it yet. And then other people are like, well, I've heard you don't actually need a signature style. What's the deal? So what are your thoughts on, does an artist need a signature style to be successful in this industry?
That's like a philosophical question because a signature style, in my mind, is just you. Like you playing out in your artwork. And so for some people, their signature style is a little bit of everything. And for others, their signature style is one very specific targeted thing. I do both because I'm a dabbler. I need to have that freedom to do a little bit of everything. And that's my print on demand world, where I'm like, ooh, this tag is really hot. I'm gonna do a bunch of weird designs around this tag. But then when it comes to like my Etsy shop, I have a signature style because I'm building a brand. So I would say, like, if your goal is to build a brand, then yeah, you need a signature style because people want to know what they're buying. Like, if you're going to open a restaurant, do you need a signature style? Like, yeah, you make like sushi that's high quality with fresh fish. Or do you want to be the restaurant that has like 500 pages and you're like, you know, that cheesy seafood restaurant that's like, you can get crab legs or hamburgers or sushi, or it's like, that's...
My kids are always happy about the chicken tenders on the menu, but you're right, it's not a seafood.
It's not a brand, you know? If you want to build a brand out of your art, then I do think you need a signature style. But if your goal is to like do print on demand, do some licensing, do some freelance work, you don't need a signature style to make money. So it's like, what's your goal?
What's your goal?
What do you think about that?
So my thoughts on this are, I mean, I barely feel like I have a signature style. So I came from working in-house, and I do a lot of freelance work, and sometimes I'm asked to do something painterly, sometimes I'm asked to do something vectory, sometimes I'm asked, I'm often in freelance work, I'm given references, basically like, we love this style of art, and so I'm not copying that, but I'm using that as an inspiration. So I'm all over the place. And for that reason, signature style hasn't been a major part of what I've brought to the table. And so I don't think it's necessary, but exactly as you're saying, I guess we agree on this one. If you want, I think for licensing, like I license my work without a major signature style. And if you saw my full licensing portfolio, I don't show everything that I like, if it's not picked up or whatever, but if you saw my full licensing portfolio, you'd definitely see some collections in there that you were like, wow, you did that? That's not like, I didn't think that you did that, right? So, but I'm also not like a top licensing brand. So I think that if I want to become a top licensing brand, I would do well to kind of hone in on something and really push it as a signature style. So yeah, I think for licensing and for things where it's really brand necessary, I think a signature style is important. But to make it in general, I don't think you need it. And I also think if you're getting started, you don't need to get too stressed about it.
Yeah.
All right? You'll get there. You'll get there.
Right. I think your signature style is something that comes out of you as you make more art. I don't think we have to worry so much about finding it. I actually hate that phrase, find your style, because I think we uncover our style. It's already in there. Like it's what you like. It's all the things you like is in there. And the more you make, the more it comes out. That's why you look at artists throughout history and they went through all these different phases and they feel like in the end they finally found who they truly were, like, Picasso's line drawing. So I would say the secret to finding your style is just keep making a ton of work.
I love that.
It'll show up.
Well, that actually brings us really well into the second hot topic. Okay. And that is, some people have heard this: be unique, stand out in the market, bring, if you're a little offbeat or whatever your thing is, if it's your signature style, bring that to the table and make yourself stand out. Or is it better to make sure that you're hitting some of those market trends, being marketable? And, everyone has bows right now. Everyone did mushrooms last year. Like, can you sell a mushroom? Like, should I have mushrooms in my portfolio? That's the question. So what do you think about, following trends versus like going to your own drumbeat as an artist?
Yeah, that's a hard one because, we're creative people. We don't like being told what to do. We don't like following other people's rules. We want to come up with our own ideas. That being said, if you want to sell your art, you have to be a little bit subject to what the market is asking for. Yeah. I don't know what this whole thing with bows is. I see them everywhere. I'm like, what is the whole bows thing? But anyway, it's a tightrope that we all walk. But when you were starting that out and you were saying, do you need to kind of go your own way? Maybe you could even say like be a little weird. I would say yes, because memorable is sellable. And if you are memorable because of your weirdness, whatever your weirdness is, that's going to make you stand out. And, for some people that might be like, maybe you're really into your culture. Maybe you're from a country that has a really strong culture that you want to celebrate. Yeah. That's something that can help you stand out. Or maybe it's your style. Like you only paint watercolors and they're super bold and colorful and you do a lot of splatters. Like something that it's like when the art licensor goes home and is eating their dinner and is thinking about the artist they saw that day, you're standing out because of something weird you did. Yeah. Or the way you presented your art. And I look at a lot of portfolios in my membership. We do a lot of portfolio reviews. And I see a lot of the same stuff over and over, like flowers with a pretty person with a face going. And it's like, how many times can you see that same thing over and over? Like, I want to see somebody come in there with like a crazy funky yellow sweater sitting in a weird chair with red lipstick and just like giving me a crazy pose and surprising me with how you present yourself. Look at all the portfolios you can and then think, how could I be a little bit different? Can you integrate following trends into that? Of course. Like, drew a mushroom in your crazy weird style, and I'm not gonna do a bow. Like, there are certain things I'm like, I'm drawing the lines. Cottage core just annoyed
not
me.
Gonna do the gnomes. Never didn't do any gnomes.
No gnomes.
Or yeah, whatever. Yeah, gnomes. That's what they call them. I'm like trying to think what's the word. Nah.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
How do you manage trends? Like, do you stay on top of them? Do you do like what freelance clients are asking you for?
Yeah, so I mean, personally, I do love trends. I just gravitate towards them, and they do inspire me. And I just sort of, after all this time in the business, just sort of absorb them. So some people feel like, I don't know what the trends are. I'm like, I just know what they are because it's all around, right? I think I'm just very attuned to seeing them, like when I go to stores and stuff, and I say like, wait a second, lemurs, like, or what? I have not seen a lemur on anything, and now suddenly I just saw 3 in the last 2 weeks or something like that. You know, it's like it pops out to me, these motifs. Plus, I do get a lot of trend reports from clients, from freelance clients and things like that, saying, okay, well, you know, we're thinking about Christmas 2025, and here's the different things that we're doing. So, I mean, you know, trends I do really love. I think, you know, I wonder if we're going to split the middle on like, I hope not all of these topics are split the middle, but it is a little bit of that, because I think it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get your work sold by a mass manufacturer, the truth is, like, if you're trying to get your work in a store that is a pretty big national brand, they can't take major risks, because they're buying so much of a certain product. They're putting it in all their stores. They can't. I actually do trend research for a major retailer as one of my freelance jobs. And anytime we present them with something new, this isn't like a cutting edge retailer. It's just like a mass general retailer, let's just say. And we present them with something new, and it takes them a little time to adjust to it. But part of the reason is because they know they're going to be putting it in so many stores across the nation that not everyone is ready for the most cutting edge icons and can't see how it would fit into their houses. And they're not going to be buying the all brand new, let's say, Christmas ornaments to go with a pink tree, because this year pink trees are so hot. Like, they still have to consider how most people do their buying. So for that reason, being, you know, just on the trends but not super offbeat can work. But if you're trying to start your own thing, if you're going to sell your own products, if you have print on demand, if you're trying to stand out for certain companies, I think, you know, having that offbeat sense is good. But it's about finding the right clients. It's not the same. It just depends. So yeah. I know that's kind of like a hard, you know.
Yeah, I know. I would think we're going to say it depends about a lot of these, because every artist is so unique, and their desires and their path and their experience and how their work plays out in the world is super unique. So I think the important thing is to start looking at all this advice that you get with the lens of like, does that really apply to me? Yeah. And once you get that confidence, you can be like, no, I'm going my own way, and this is the way I'm going.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like everyone is coming from their own point. Every teacher, educator, person who's writing a blog about this is coming from their own point of view. And I've been seeing that a lot online as well. It's like, I respect what people are saying, but that hasn't been my experience. So it's different. And, you know, I think when you're getting started, you take everything as gospel because you don't know any better, but then you start to realize, like, hey, it's okay for me to go a little bit off course, and it definitely is, and you will find your own way. But sometimes it is easier to just, okay, well, I'm just gonna follow this rule at first in order to move forward, and then as you get more comfortable, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing. So I love it. Yeah. All right, next question. This one, maybe we're gonna decide. So, do you, okay, so people have heard, like, you can reuse, you know, the whole point of your own art is that you can reuse your motifs. So you draw a flower on one greeting card, you can put it in your fabrics, use that flower for whatever. And then there's also other people who say, don't ever reuse a motif. Don't use that same tulip that you drew and put on a card and put it on your fabrics, or in a second collection, you know, if it's a collection of 3 patterns, don't be using that same tulip in 2 of the patterns. What's your thoughts on that?
It's definitely a little dangerous because, okay, I know it might be hard for some beginners to imagine, but you could get in a situation in the future where you're licensing 400 different designs at once. And in 2026, you took a flower from that pattern and put it over on that card, and then Target decided to license that card. And then this other licensor is like, so you're giving your motifs that we signed our contract with over to Target now? And are you going to be responsible for keeping track of your motifs and how those correspond to all of the targets or all of the contracts that you have? For me personally, I've got kids. I don't have the brain space to know where my motifs are and what contracts they're under. Whereas if everything is within its own artwork, it's like, those are safe zones. Also, the way I design my patterns and my illustrations and my hand lettering, everything fits together perfectly. So I can't really steal a piece from here and there and collage stuff together. It just looks like a mishmash of, faking it. Now, this is like an example of the other way. I had this as a repeat pattern and I just threw these together as an art print. That works. But you know why I did this? This is not for licensing. This is for my Etsy shop. So when you sell stuff yourself, do whatever you want. But if you're making stuff that could potentially be linked to a contract in any way, shape, or form, you better watch out and have some spreadsheets going because, I mean, literally you could be sued. Like it could be a breach of contract that you're reusing motifs in different ways. Now you're an industry insider, so you probably have more of an insight to this.
No, you almost had me convinced. She's got me convinced I'm gonna have to change my position. Well, I was gonna take a hard left and say, do whatever you want. But, no, so this is good. This is the hard.
I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. This is the hot topics part because I would say, no, it's okay. You're mostly okay. But here's why I would say that because, well, first of all, I do like to just leverage what you have, right? You creating this artwork, and so leveraging what you have is so like make the most, work smarter, not harder is my thought process. But I'd say in my licensing, so in freelance, it's different because I'm creating it for a client. They've given me these specifications. I can't then take an ornament that I drew on a gift bag, which I don't know where that gift bag ends up, if it even ends up in a store, and then put that. But for my licensing portfolio, I'm owning the copyright to everything. So I think it's okay to use motifs in different things. I mean, I'm not necessarily taking something and putting it in a whole different collection. It's usually kind of within a collection, but I do use it for a lot of different products. So now I might make a greeting card with some of the motifs from, similar to how you did this, taking some of my motifs from a repeat and then putting it into a greeting card. Part of the reason that I have felt like that's okay is because usually if I'm licensing something for a greeting card, it's just for a greeting card. The contract only covers a greeting card and not fabric or something else that it might land on. So even if they're overlapping contracts as far as, one's on fabric in the year 2025 and one is on, a greeting card, usually the contract itself is just for the product. So I'm usually okay there. Also, not a lawyer. Also, don't hardly deal with my own contracts. So maybe I'm just making a big mess compared, what she's saying sounds very reasonable. But yeah, I'm all about working smarter and harder, not harder. So I kind of am like, why not just use a little bit? I would say the other thing is, and we probably would agree on this, there's only so much, how many different ways can you draw a flower or a certain icon, right? I can't draw the silhouette of a reindeer, which I've had to draw many times in my life, that differently, right? A reindeer silhouette is gonna have antlers. It can be more stylized. It can be more, stretched out or whatever. But there's really only so many ways. So you know, we have to also take things with who's got a magnifying glass and saying like, in Walmart on a stationery pad in 2019, there was a reindeer that looks a lot like the greeting card that I had. It's really more about the all over thing. If you have the same colors and the same, you know, multiple motifs and the same lettering, then that's gonna be a problem. But when you use like one flower from, you know, in two different, totally different contexts, it often probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
She makes a good case.
And I am, so no.
Exactly. No, I love that. I love it. No. There we go. That was a hot top.
We should try to choose the opposite sides of it and just, you know,
fight it out. I like that. I did a Instagram live series in like 2020, I think, and it was a debate series basically, and I picked people who are on the opposite sides of certain things, and I made it very like we were basically, it was a battle, and I played up the battle side of it of like, no, this is what it is, whatever you're saying is. I was a little aggressive, but I think I'm still friends with all those people, so it worked out okay. All right, so the next one, this one, people have heard that, you know, if you're gonna pitch your work, if you're going to get your art in front of art directors for licensing or for freelance or for whatever other purposes, if you're going to get your art out there, that you should, on one side, send a couple JPEGs in your email with your, you know, best art and maybe a link to your website. Or should you put together like a brand book, whether it's like an online brand book or whatever, but like something like a full portfolio that you might like flip through, or it's like a full PDF that you can see all the images and really go through most of your portfolio to send along with your initial cold pitch. What do you think about that?
I always think about it as like dating. It's like the very first time you go on a date with someone, do you want to hear their life story?
Nah.
And what do you feel like if they share their life story with you? A little bit of a creeper?
Oh man, yeah.
Probably don't want to see that person again, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah,
if they give you their life story the first time you meet, what's coming? You know what I mean? Yikes.
Yeah.
So my thought is like, give someone a little
teaser,
little flash, you know, like.
Teaser.
You want to just like have coffee for 20 minutes and then, you know, just chit chat, and maybe we'll see each other again, maybe not. Because then they get the opportunity to know if they like the initial thing. Also, I see a lot of people sending that whole portfolio thing. Is your whole portfolio awesome?
I know mine's not.
or is like your very most recent work that you're super proud of awesome? Right. And what do you want to show to someone? So for me, what I do, the only way I pitch is I'm sharing my newest collection with you. That's it. If you want to click the link to go to my portfolio, you have it accessible. It's there for you if you want to see more. But even that doesn't have a ton of work on it. It's just my highlights. I think that when we show everything, usually when I see it, especially with beginners and intermediate artists, they're trying to prove how much work they've made. You know, look at the quantity of work I've made and how impressive that is. I'm a real artist, aren't I? And like, that isn't what people really want to know. What they want to know is, are you making awesome art? Yeah. It's irrelevant how much art you've made in the past and how big of a quantity your portfolio is. Now, if you've got some sweet collaborations, drop that, you know, mention that. So that's the kind of thing I do. I say like, I just finished this new collection. It's not licensed anywhere yet. Are you interested in it? So that gives this feeling of like, okay, in my inbox is something new and fresh from an artist who's just given me a little peek of their most beautiful recent work. And there's no pressure to look through a lot of stuff. I think we also need to look at the data about people's attention span going down.
Yes.
As video becomes more and more prevalent, people are not reading anymore. So you send that like bio that's this long, nobody's reading it. 1 to 2 sentences if you're lucky. I'd go one sentence, with a pretty picture, bam, that's all about you. But I've opened a lot of portfolios that have like a big section about me, and it's like, they're not ready to read about you. Like, it's all about them. And that's another thing to think about. This old book that's a little bit outdated, but it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. You don't come in talking all about me. It's about you. I would like to present my work to you because...
How can I help you?
Right.
How can I help you? That's a top tip.
How does my work fit into your world? And why would my work be helpful for you?
Yes.
And instead of it being like, meet me, find out where I live and about my dog and my,
Yes.
It's like me. They don't want to hear that.
Look, this is why Liz Kohler Brown is a superstar. I agree 100% on all of this stuff. Totally couldn't have put it better myself. I have lots of, I'm married, you're married. I don't have a lot of dating, like recent dating stories, but I somehow also have dating metaphors when I talk about things as well. But yeah, no, I 100% agree. I send a couple JPEGs and send them to my website, and if they want to see more, which again isn't everything. And also I can say, hey, if there's something specific you're looking for, I'd love to send it to you. So that kind of gives a little teaser, little question for them to answer if they, hey, actually we are looking for, we're doing spring right now, we're looking for Easter art. Do you have any new Easter art or something? It's like, sure, let me see what I can do. But yeah, I love that. It's like, what value can you bring to them? That quick scannable text, super important. And I also would say that those brand books, they are wonderful. They're great, but in the time it takes you to put all that together and to make it perfect, because you will try to make it perfect and make it look as good as you can, and all those mock-ups and all the things that people do put in those brand books, by the time it takes you to do that, how many emails could you have sent with the 1 or 2 JPEGs, right?
Yeah.
How much could you have gotten done? It's a little bit of a procrastination thing, which is what I focus on. It's start your service pattern business of like, I know you think making a website means having all this, having a logo and having all these colors and figuring all that, but that's a little bit of procrastination. We can just get our art up and type our name at the top and be done with it just to have it, So I love that. That was a good one.
That reminds me of a quote I heard recently. Overcomplication is a form of procrastination.
For sure.
And when you said logo, I was thinking, I hear so many people saying, I can't launch it yet because I don't have a logo.
No, that's
just
not
one
true.
of those things of like overcomplication.
That is. Well, done is better than perfect is my true mantra. So, and I've been having to use that one a lot lately because I'm finishing up my update for my course, and so I've been like, it's okay. It's not perfect. It's okay. It's okay. All right, last one. Collections. People say you need collections, you have to have do your art in collections in this business. And then of course other people say, no, you don't need to do your art in collections. You can do whatever you want. What do you think, Liz?
That's an interesting question. I've never heard someone think about it that way, because I love collections.
Me too.
I wish someone would put me in a cabin in the woods and leave me alone and let me make collections, like Bob Dylan style. So I find it surprising that someone would not want to make collections, and that makes me think they maybe don't have a collection process, because once they get in their collection process, they're gonna be like, why are people bothering me when I wanna make a collection? Like, I wanna do my calendar as an example. So, you spend all this time designing this concept.
That's the thing.
The layout, what's the lettering gonna be? What are the themes gonna be? And I spend all this time on that. Am I gonna do one artwork with that? No, I wanna do a deep dive into this style and this like world that I've built. That's how I do my pattern collections. That's how I do greeting card collections. So for me, it's like, all I do is design in collections. No matter what I'm designing, I design in collections, because the first artwork you design along a theme that you think is your awesome theme is not the best one. The best one is coming. When you do 5, 10, 20 of that theme, you get deeper and deeper into that world, and it unveils things that your first artwork isn't. So I think, personally, the first artwork is the beginner's joy, you know? I made some artwork. Wow! Oh my gosh, it's done.
Yeah.
And once you get past that phase, you'll start to realize, oh, now if I do 3, then I get a little deeper and it gets better and better. Oh, if I do 10, now that feels like the tip of the iceberg. So I think it's kind of an evolution thing. Like, you will enjoy making collections when you develop a collection process that makes it fun, which for me is like diving deeply into a world. And for that calendar, for example, it was like vintage botanical illustrations. And I had like thousands of those saved that I could like peek through and like, oh man, I could do this for the rest of my life, just looking at vintage botanical illustrations and making work around them. So that's it for me, is like doing a collections is a privilege that I get when my kids will give me a break and I get done with my busy work.
I love that. Well, I am also a big believer in collections, and I think we're in agreement on this. Like, I would say you don't need collections. Not everything needs to have a collection, but there is a lot of, you do make stronger artwork when you create in collections. I agree that, as you build, you have more. Now, when you started talking about 10, 15, that's when I'm like, hold on, because I used to do collections that had maybe, like 7 to 9 pieces, but now I am a big fan of the mini collection. I'll do 3 or 4 of something and move on. If it's for my licensing portfolio, if I don't already have a partner lined up. Like if I know I'm doing it for my fabric partner, then I'm gonna need more designs. But if it's something that I'm just hoping, catches the eye of somebody to license it, I'm probably not gonna do more than 4. That's enough for me to, my own personal process, for me to explore it, make sure that I'm have some of my strongest work, kind of go back. I usually do my first print and then my second, and then I might go back and adjust my first print and then kind of think of it all together. And that's enough for me to explore it, have fun with it, move on. Hopefully it catches some attention, and if not, I didn't spend forever on it. But I talk about my process. I have a course called Successful Licensing Collections, and that is,
watch it.
and that kind of breaks it down. But I do love a good collection, and I think it can make your work stronger. But there's also, it depends on the product, because for greeting cards, I used to always create in collections, even for most greeting cards, and now I really don't. I usually just do one-off greeting cards, because I've had some situations where it's been where if I've done a collection, it's been licensed as like box note cards, but often greeting cards are just picked up one at a time, and so if I have just one idea, then that's okay. Try it out, have fun. Maybe it turns into 2, but it doesn't have to be. So
yeah,
that's my thought on that.
So go your own way. Do what you like.
I know.
Do that every day, and then companies will find you that like that thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that, we definitely already hit on this, but as you can see, like if you're getting conflicting advice, you get to choose. There is not a right or wrong answer. In this case, I'd say we agreed about 80% of the time, but sometimes I feel like we had to split the difference. So but yeah, you can go your own way, and I think we might need to have our own show. I think
so too. I think in the comments you all are gonna have to say below, should there be like a
Liz and Liz? I go by Liz with my friends.
Liz
so
show?
Is it the Liz Squared show? I don't know. We're working on the title. But thank you so much, Liz, for joining me, hosting me, really, even though this is my YouTube channel. This is her house, her lovely house. So thank you so much. And I will put Liz's information and about her studio and her classes and things in the description, because truly she has a wealth of information, and I'm so excited for you to check it out.
Thank you. Bye, guys.